Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. We're playing in the Harbinger League in the fall of Oriath expansion. Last episode, we took on High Templar Various, who turned into the god Innocence. And now Kitava is threatening the land, and it is up to us to stop him. So let's return to the Chamber of Innocence and rediscover a different side of Oriath.
What in damnation have you done?
Hello there, Bannon.
You've destroyed him, and yet I hear the voice of Innocence, begging for our forgiveness, asking for our help. You and I. I heard him the moment the High Templar fell, whispering inside my damn skull, his heart beating within my chest. Innocence protects us now, holds fast the door against the murderous tide that rushes to meet us. He wants you to pass through that door, to bring order to the chaos beyond. I don't understand any of this. Moments ago, I was just a soldier obeying his High Templar, Bannon the Nobody. Now, my God lays inside my head, telling me to let you through that door and to make my way to Overseer's Tower, if it still stands. It does? All right. I don't know what's waiting for you out there, but should you survive it, I'll see you at Overseer's Tower.
The Overseer's Tower is the name of the town, by the way. Don't think I explicitly mentioned that anywhere. So, when Sin mentioned that he put Innocence somewhere inside of Bannon was what he was talking about.
You've destroyed him, and yet...
Okay, he only got that one thing to say. So, let's continue. We have a couple of side quests to solve before we can get to the main thing. So it's probably going to be another longer episode. So the Templar courts have been burned. And now we see Kitava's zealots here.
An orb of immense power.
Oh, there's too much blue there. It's probably not a Harbinger. Yeah, haha. Okay, that's getting a little too intense to my taste. Ooh, an exalted shard. Obviously, we will need 20 of the buggers, but at least we got one before we can make our very own exalted orb. And we can actually even teleport through these broken walls. Cast a lightning storm. Sure. We can do with that. I even got shocked by it. Due to the changes in the shock mechanic, it will be more common to get shocked, but contrary to the old shock, which always gave you a 50% increased damage taken debuff, the new shocks are variable in power and can be as weak as 1% increased damage taken. Grab the amethyst flask just in case we will end up needing it. So some of these Templar have been corrupted and now they are heretical guardians and heretical wards. No, heretical counterparts to the Templar versions that we saw earlier. And especially for melee builds, the damage that you receive will start ramping up here. The heretical versions of the Templar are even more aggressive than the Templar could already be. But in my case, I have a decent supply of minions to stand in the way of damage, and I do a lot of my damage ranged. So do not be misled into believing that these foes pose no threat. They definitely can and will pose a threat if your build is actually tanking them. Kato, Scholar of Light. Okay, he's shooting out way too much beamies. But he is dead now. And now we got Kato, the Defiler of Light, who's also dead. Okay, cool. Then Utula is gonna be next on our list. The Desecrate is a good reminder that I do need to fix the links, so it will autocast. Because the Bone Offering is definitely something I do forget to use. Much more than I should. Or I use it much less than I should, that's maybe a better way of phrasing it. Also, a little bit of appreciation for the soundtrack. I think the Templar Course soundtrack is probably one of the better ones in the Fall of Oriath expansion. But I do have a fondness for these orchestral sounds. I'm very happy that we have this soundtrack. It does make playing and fighting here rather pleasant to just have a nice soundtrack accompanying it. Okay, the door is already being... Oh, a door is already being highlighted there, but it is not the door I am looking for, I think. Okay, let's just dive into this side room so we can get out of the field of fire here. Because as I mentioned, some of these attacks can do quite some damage. Especially those spectral swords, they do pierce through me and my entire pack of minions. Okay, Ruined Square.
Drink of the hot sweet wine of Oriath, and let us slay ourselves on the beast no longer, for our king is ravenous.
Okay. Another little bit of appreciation with another Harbinger in another area. It's almost like the extremely low spawn rate of Harbingers in the earlier acts was a bug that has just silently been fixed since. We're still playing on the 300B patch notes, and I haven't seen any amendment to the patch notes mentioning that they corrected a problem with the spawning of the Harbingers. But it might be that it is actually something that just got silently fixed. And here we got a statue that came alive and it spawned all of these hands and limbs. Which is where the Vaal corrupted boss in the corrupted side area in the Templar Courts in the previous episode was patterned after. Okay, let's just chase after him and poof, he's gone. Okay. So the layout here is generally gonna be the same as on the way back in. But some of the roads have been blocked, so we have to work our way through it. A little bit more like through a maze. Okay, there's the waypoint. That's a good moment to have a bit of a look at the layout of Act 5's map. Because on the way to Innocence it was more or less a straight line and there were no branches. Now that we are in the second part, now that Oriath Square has been turned into the Ruined Square, we have 3 side areas that stretch from here. We have the Ossuary and we have the Reliquary. Ossuary is here. Reliquary is more towards the bottom of the map. And then finally, the more towards the left side of the map, we have the exit that will eventually take us to Kitava himself. So let's enter the Ossuary first. It may not have felt like it, but the Ruined Square is actually a rather hectic area for a melee. The Ossuary and also the Reliquary are much calmer areas that serve as a bit of a counterpart, a little bit of a breather or a break, if you will, from the intense action outside. But I really do like the design of this area. I mean, this is definitely a very nicely made bone church.
Come to me, Exile. Let us speak of death.
Ooh, appropriate. Katarina resides here. It's the first time I've seen her in the Harbinger League so far. Also, it's a bit of a bone scorpion. It's a rather interesting design. And something is shooting things from the back here. That is the Battle Cleric and the Deceased Saints. Ooh. Pillars of bone that shoot shards of bone in all directions. Yeah, we were here. We were picking up the Templar life nodes. We're going to complete that. After that, we'll pick up the jewel socket over here so we can equip our threshold jewel. And after that, we'll see what is relevant.
Life will lose. My sculpture complains that it is.
Okay, kill corrupted monsters. We will encounter some of those on our way through. Open tomb. Get skill gem. Seems like a decent reward. So we're looking for the sign of purity here, which hopefully can help us in our battle against Kitava. If not, we might have a little bit of a problem. Oh, and there are the corrupted monsters. There's a little bit more than we were specifically looking for. But that's alright. That's alright. Is my Dark Pact not working? Ah, yes, there we are. Right, let's join them in with the army. Got a lot of space, so let's quickly empty my pockets and then move forward. Okay, that's all currency. That can go into the currency box. So, first exalted shard. Okay, let's go back and pick up our loot. And we need to bring some corpses back to Katarina. Which, luckily, is not very far. Yay! And she instantly goes to level 2. Okay, we came in from there. Presumably, we're actually gonna have to walk a little bit further into this direction. Hindsight, probably should have gone for the sign first, but yeah. Okay, some brittle clerics. There's not a bone husk. And a essence, corrupted essence mob. Oh, that is lovely. Just explode all the things. Let's put up another book. Get some corpses up and then we'll just go nuts here. And I think it moved away or something. Yeah. Deathblade, Oblivion's guiding hand. Yeah, it seems angry. Let's get some more skellies up, because I think the minions were a little scattered. Definitely not helping in the processor. We do have a full complement of a zombie still, so that is good. And I probably should have read what was in the box first. You. Bone Stalker. Yes. Ooh, 6-socketed item. Very first 6-socketed item drop. It's a bow, we don't really use bows, but still, it is nice. You can turn it into jeweler's orbs. Simply by the virtue of selling them. 6-socketed items are great for that. Oh, and another Harbinger. So, again, for this episode, we're still 1 for 1 in terms of areas and Harbingers. Harbingers do reuse monsters from the same area. So it's not like you're gonna run into some weird enemies that you were not expecting in areas. That is one of the interesting side effects. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what Harbingers will eventually turn into. Whether they are gonna be more exciting, whether they're gonna remain this unimpressive. Let's see. Oh, I can still up it. As I mentioned before, I wanna get the trigger for cast with damage taken to go up to about 1,000 at first. And then later on we'll increase it to 2,000 once we have more life and energy shield. But having the cast damage taken trigger whenever my energy shield depletes is probably going to be a nice enough thing for now. That might even be a better one, just to as a metric. Try to keep the trigger life amount compare of the same as your energy shield, and it's gonna trigger often enough to be useful as a defensive thing, but not too often to be annoying. And there we are. The tomb of the first Templar. And we get the sign of purity. Wrought from blood and gold, Innocence fashioned a weapon of tempered purity, capable of banishing darkness and bringing order to the chaos in men's hearts. Also, don't have space. So, we'll drop something shiny. Ooh, hello there, Sin.
An empire is nothing more than a standard pitched in the naked earth. The time has come for you to raise the standard upon the peak of false faith, the apex of Chitta's cathedral. Drive it deep into that sacred stone. Mark the death of a faithless empire and slay the slavering kingdom that seeks to consume it. An empire is nothing more.
Okay, and once again, he only has one speech.
Greetings.
So, just quickly get rid of the items we picked up. Anything useful in here? It's always convenient when the items that you pick up are not all that useful, because then you can simply get rid of them. Let's see, corruption, gem. So we will be carrying that one with us for quite a while still. And see, Lani didn't have anything to say. Valenta also silent. Okay, so the ossuary that we went into, the waypoint is the ruined square waypoint, so we can just use that one to go back. We were long enough away that the instance reset. But one thing has been rather consistent, and that is that we just need to head to the bottom side of the map. Let's see, Essence of Suffering. Let's put on some skellies and I'll make them suffer. And there's that. Let's see, just double check that this is not a way forward. This is indeed a dead end. Good. Utula will be in the area. I'm a little surprised, I haven't seen a quest for it yet. Could be that you won't technically get the quest until you clear the Reliquary. Let's not get into the fighting myself. So this is, I think, the outline of the actual square part of the map. The big Oriath square where we found the matriarch previously. Just trying to stick to the edges, because it is going to be rather easy to just miss one of the side exits where Utula will be hiding. Or, well, he will be. He's not technically hiding, he's just a little bit off to the side of the map. And there's a cross on the map. That's probably going to be a good thing.
Orb of fusing.
There is a monstrosity there. And a big cross marked with corpses and other body parts.
Did you think our vengeance was done, Savior? Oh no, it has only begun.
Okay, so surrounded with minions. And then we burn them. I do feel slightly sorry for the devs who obviously put a decent amount of effort into each of the new unique monsters that we encounter. And giving them effects and all those things. And then just blasting through it in about a second or so. But as I said, I think Dark Pact is probably overtuned a little bit. It's a little bit more powerful than it needs to be. If Dark Pact were half as strong as it is now, it would still be a powerful skill. But right now it does kind of dominate the damage output a little bit. Let's see, freeze you when activated, magic mobs, 6 additional items and caustic clouds. So let's get some skellies up in the air. Become freeze immune and then just run to the side and then explode things. And there we are. Loot all for me. Honor bound the bloodthirsty on a beard. Not bound, beard. So even after going after Utula, that one charged the heretical ward. After going Utula, the next side area will contain the Reliquary. And the Reliquary has its own waypoint. And we now have to go back to town to have a chat with Bannon before we complete any more quests. So Bannon is going to be up here and he's going to replace Utula as the weapons merchant.
We're glad you made it. No, damn it all, that's just too strange to abide. I'm glad you made it. And Innocence tells me I need to keep helping you. So that's what I'm going to do. I know my way around weapons and armor, and all things Templar if you should want for further enlightenment on that subject. As for Innocence, I don't know. Sometimes he makes sense, other times he's a shattered god, but he'll heal. I'll make sure of that. The High Priest is dead, yet the object of his devotion remains. There's no doubt you did all right bringing that man-turned-monster to heel, but you weren't able to stop him fishing his master out of a river of blood. Damn. Sorry. I never could get the hang of boosting morale. Didn't seem right to polish the edges off harsh facts. Probably why I never made captain. Still, I've been poking around here for a bit and have turned up Utula's stash. Quite the magpie he was. So here, help yourself. When it comes to hunting a god, I suppose every little bit helps.
So this is where we get another support jewel. Let's see, projectile spears, additional target, increased projectile damage. I don't think technically our Dark Pact is a projectile. It's something that changed, but it is not quite a projectile. So this is not going to help us. Warlord's Reach, increased attack damage and melee and weapon unarmed range. Again, not useful for us, since we're not attacking anything. Assassin's Haste, increased mana regen, movement speed, attack and cast speed. This one is at least something we could
Innocence
technically
blesses your
use,
journey.
even though it doesn't look all that great.
I'm here to serve as best I can.
So, a little bit of lore in the middle of the episode, and then we're going to continue our hunt for Kitava.
I'm having a little trouble explaining it myself. I've never been the most devout of men, especially for a Templar, more of a soldier than a believer. But now, Innocence himself rests within me. His voice is weak, barely a whisper, yet still he has the power to keep us safe from Kitava's hunger. At least for now. For my part, I'm simply grateful. Grateful that I have a god watching my back, and grateful that he's given me the power to watch others in return. For a long time now, I thought my god's intentions were being twisted by his supposed servants. Did I speak up? No. The pyre would have been my only answer. I did what I was told and drew the lines of morality where I could. Now I understand the truth. It wasn't Innocence's intention being twisted. It was Innocence himself, perverted by the selfish convictions of the men and women who worshipped him. A god answers to the believer, as the believer answers to their god.
I do like the concept here that the god is not just something that exists statically, it is something living, changing, and the fact that people believe in the god changes the god. And vice versa. It's a concept that you don't often encounter. It's most of the time gods are just static things that don't really change.
The sign of purity. Let's see. A staff bathed in innocent blood. No. Sorry, bathed in the blood of Innocence. Yes, Innocence gave a part of his divine self to the thing, and gifted it to the Templar. Now that I recall, I read a tome about it when I was a cadet. Bloody long time ago. I skipped most of the boring pages, so only remember the bit where High Templar Maxarius smote with flame the army of the faithless, with one ray of its hallowing light. The book's words, not mine. Outside of my humble flesh, the sign of purity is about all that's left of Innocence. Devotion should be honored, I suppose. For centuries now, the Templar have boiled the flesh and skin from the devout, and presented the polished remains for public appreciation in the Ossuary. Personally, I think it's one of the better ways to remember those who have gone before us. To touch the bones is to remember neither the legend, the legacy, nor the lies. It reminds you that those bones belong to a man or woman who was just like any other man or woman. I'd be lying if I said my hands were clean of slavery's blood. I was a soldier. I went where Dominus ordered me to go. I sailed with the expedition to Ngamakanui, killed Karui warriors, and rounded up Karui captives like every other bastard in a Templar uniform. So I don't blame Lonnie for wanting to take back her freedom, and I don't blame her for believing Utula's lies either. I certainly swallowed enough of Dominus's falsities to sicken my soul. It's what we do now that matters. I can see that Lonnie's heart is in the right place, and for once in my damned life, so is mine. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't trust her. Yeah, I've got my reasons. Piety kept her work pretty quiet, but her results were brutally clear. The people she took, the people she changed. Slaves mostly, and a few enemies of God. Enemies of bloody Dominus, more like it. I don't go in for black and white definitions of good and evil, but with Piety in her ilk, I make an exception. Whatever's lurking inside Violenta, it ain't good. Not by a long shot.
Yeah, they're definitely
Don't ever give up.
not on the good side of anything.
What is it?
What does she say of Bannon?
Bannon claims that a god now lives inside his head and talks to him. What's more common? Divine possession or insanity? I'll leave you to calculate the odds. Now, where
Skepticism.
was I?
Lonnie.
Freedom comes to those who fight. You've sent the traitor to meet his ancestors, have you? That'll be an interesting conversation. I'm no Hatungo, but I can foresee Utula walking a long road of trial and suffering before he earns himself a place at the ancestors' table. And just as Utula's journey continues, so does yours, right into the jaws of Kitava. I don't profess to understand the mind of a god, but I know the stories. Kitava is patient. He waited in the darkest pit of Hinekore's realm. He will bide his time while his hunger spreads like the plague it is, and when his tribe is replenished 100 times over, Kitava will rise one final time to finish the feast that he has started. Oriath is merely the appetizer. There's a whole world out there for Kitava to taste. You've proved that you're a hero who can slay legends. Let's see if you can kill a god.
So that was not quite the spoken words to accompany the written words. But alright.
Bannon is unexpected. At least, he's not the sort of Templar that I'm used to dealing with. His ideas about Innocence almost make sense to me. The way he worships Innocence and receives such power in return, it's like his devotion actually brings out the best in his god. But how is that possible? A god is a god. They bless us and they punish us, not the other way around. Yet for Bannon, somehow it's different. For freedom.
Now, where was I?
So that concludes the little lore bit. So let's continue to our hobby of slaying gods. Let's see. Yeah, we were gonna go to the Reliquary. Where we are being beset by busts and ghostly pirate things. So this is similar in idea to the Ossuary. A more quiet area compared to the outside. But it looks much different. No, the other one was a bone church. More dark, more solemn. This, as the Reliquary, is basically just a gaudy version of a museum instead of something more solemn. Also, Orbs of Augmentation. 2 in a row. That's not a common sight. So we're gonna look for Kitava's torments. Some bits and pieces from some of the other Karui gods. Valako's jaw. Also used as a fishing hook. It's interesting using the jaw of a god as a fishing hook. There's probably some religions that would see that as blasphemous rather than as holy, but sure, who am I to judge? Let's just put a couple skeletons in there and just deal with groups of mobs.
Warrior.
Haku! What are you doing here? Sending me into a haunted pit. Keep in mind, Val versions of specific mobs are going to be specific to each of the side area. This is a variation of a slave pens, the haunted pit, where we haven't been, so that's going to be good. Ooh, a ghost. Can we kill it in time? Yes, we can. Lovely. Silver flask. I'm really looking for a silver flask, but silver is good as well for now, I guess. And of course we encounter the rare after killing the ghost. That's often how it goes. And more rares. Ooh, transmutation. Ah, and the bleeding was from the minions. I heard the sound, I pressed the flask, but I was not the one that was bleeding. Oh, Boka! That is just good old Boka. Nothing new. Ooh. That is the Stormheart. Let's see, increased physical damage, adds cold lightning damage, increased crit chance, can't be shocked while chilled, and a chance to shock chilled enemies. Okay, so if you're playing a cold and lightning combination build, this might actually be useful. And this is the Raging Spirits variation of the build. Obviously with a large amount of AoE in this, we should be able to murder most of them rather decently. But it's even easier to simply just run on through. Yeah, so there's no real threat here. We cleared all the real monsters and the Raging Spirits, they are gonna be more distracted by the minions than that they will be truly trying to damage me. So you can shrug it off. Okay, time to look for the other 2 torments. So for the first playthroughs of Act 5 through 10, the episodes will generally be longer than what I normally have, but I'm just very keen on just getting through all of the content as fast as possible and getting to Acts 9 and 10 as quickly as possible, because I'm really curious to see how things are gonna turn out. So in future series, obviously I'm not gonna focus as much on the lore, that's gonna be a one-time thing. And no, initially I planned that to be the beta for this, but given that not all of the voice acting was in there and some changes have been made since, I felt it would be appropriate to at least try to acknowledge as much of the lore as possible in this first playthrough. But in future series I definitely will cut things up a little bit. So no, maybe upon reaching the Reliquary I would actually put a pause on it. And then pursue a Kitava from here on out in a next episode. Or wherever natural boundaries between content will be. But yeah, for the new content, the episodes will be longer. And where the episodes are shorter, I'm gonna try to do multiple episodes a day. But I think we're just gonna aim for about an hour of footage per day. So then that way I'm not overwhelming all of you with too many videos either. Ooh, another level. Lovely. That is more life. 1300. Oh, and another Harbinger. I think that still gets us for 1 Harbinger per 1 area. So yeah, we got some space here. Nice thing of a summoner build is that you can actually get away with not paying too much attention to some of the fights, because your minions are doing most of the hard work for you anyway. So you're getting stacked up with some unique items rather well here. And this is the last. Good. Okay, so that allows us to go back. Lani.
Not all slaves believe Dutula's lies. Some I know have managed to steal a ship and are soon to set sail for Namakanui. Hopefully, with these treasures on board, Valakor will bless their voyage and breathe deeply into their sails. No, I'm not going with them. I helped bring this curse down upon Oriath, so I'll help save what little there is left to save. Here, take something, in thanks for your part in preserving the Karui Way.
A book of skill. I like those books. They've got nice pictures. So, bit of life, bit of energy shield, some strength, some intelligence. So let's have a look. No more lore.
Hello.
No new lore.
We live in interesting times.
And no new lore. Those are the most convenient ones. How are we doing? We got 4 orbs of fusing, and we could very much do with a 3-link glove here. So let's see if we get lucky. And we get a 4-link. That's even better. So level 46, and 47. So we will have to put Bone Offering on hold for a little bit. Probably just level up cards by damage taken and keep the other ones on hold for a little bit. I don't think we've got anything red on switch. Eventually this is gonna be Immortal call. Is there anything fun we can add in there for the time being? Some stone golem. Auto casting a golem might not be the worst thing in the world. Okay, so we can use the waypoint to go back to the Reliquary, and from the Reliquary we can go back to the Ruined Square. Reason not using the Ruined Square waypoint is that we would be in the top end of the map rather than in the bottom, and we want to go from here to the left hand side, so this is just slightly more efficient. Okay, so now that the golem is on autocast, I do need to actually take a bit of damage before we get it, but it's there to regenerate life, so that's gonna happen soon enough. Okay, and indeed we have some golems. So with some of these ground effects going on here, the amount of damage can rather quickly ramp up. Every statue has the potential to come alive. It's a little bit like the market square in that regard, though more of a grim version. Yeah, our casting speed is about 1.1 or 1.2 per second now. Or 2.2 per second. But with it just blinking around that much, it does feel like there are many more being cast than there actually are. But it's definitely just visual fireworks. And I do appreciate that. No, just walking around rather than flame dashing all over the place. It's slower advance, but the minions, especially now that they have been powered by minion speed support, it does give them a chance to run ahead of you and engage the enemies, so you yourself take less damage. As he freezes me, so we fix that, and it revives enemies with onslaught. So let's just scatter some skellies. And port out of here. Okay, I think we're getting towards where we have to be. Yeah, we are. The temple. And notice the camera zooming out here to give a little bit of a sense of a scale to this. So we're now on the rooftop of the cathedral that we saw earlier with the statue that came alive. And of all the places Tora could appear, she's on the rooftop of a freaking church in the middle of Oriath. Couldn't have picked herself a nice forest or something to say hello. It had to be here.
This land is crawling with vermin.
You don't have to tell me. Lots of vermin. Good thing is she's sending me forward, not back. That is lovely. Last time I encountered the master up here, it was nearly at the end of the map. And it was the world's laziest assassin, and he sent me more or less back to the start to kill some rogue exile that he could not be bothered to kill himself. Oh, lovely. There's some infected bugs up here. A little bit of an odd thing. And that looks pretty demony. Kitava's heralds. Okay, hey, hello there. You are a Harbinger powered Kitava's zealot. So, once again, the one herald per area rule seems to apply. So that actually makes me happy. I have a bit more of a sense of, hey wait, this is the actual Harbinger League, and there are Harbingers in most of the areas. I like it. Not entirely sure if I'll do a second character this league or not, but when I do, I'll try to pay attention to whether we get one Harbinger per area there as well, or whether it really was a Act 1 through 4 just get a reduced spawn rate thing for the sake of tutorial or whatever, or whether it is a problem that got fixed. If it's a problem that got fixed, then I'm just very happy. Oh, that was an exploding core. I did not notice it in time. I do like the area here as well. Now you got some of the ramps on the side that you can use to move around. There's bits and pieces of the roof that have collapsed. Also there's enemies cursing you here. And that may inflict bleeding. Against groups of zombies this large, chances are that some of them will end up bleeding. The skeletons, of course, being temporary minions, definitely help to protect your zombies. Because, well, if a skeleton gets bled upon or killed or whatever, it's not really that big a deal because they are disposable. It's only with zombies where it's a little bit annoying because you have to recast them when they die. Okay, so the queens are the corrupted mobs. It now all makes sense. Took me a while to realize.
I do believe you and I are beginning to see.
But she's level 2 now, that's good. So I believe that only leaves Vegan as the master that has yet to reveal himself. Okay, scouring. Someone is hiding behind the column there. Oh, are you playing hide and seek? I am afraid you did not win it. You are hiding way too much in plain sight. And again, these small confined spaces definitely play to my advantage because they are smaller than the explosion radius that my Dark Pact has right now. Ooh, and I see a portal or a doorway at the end. And that signals the fight with Kitava. So, let's do this. Cathedral Apex. Hello. Okay, so does a decent 1,000 points or so of damage. So both of my previous characters have been meleeers, so playing this as a summoner is gonna be interesting. Let's put some skellies up. Okay, he looks a little angrier. I probably would be as well if my face was wrecked like that. So this is a pretty dangerous attack. It is, obviously signaled as such, him throwing stuff. If you're further out, definitely more difficult to see what the heck is happening. Okay. Kitava's heart. This is the minions stage of the fight, as most of the fights seem to be getting so far. Must admit, the minions are doing a pretty decent job here of just going after Kitava and doing damage to him. Whoa! I was too slow to spot that, and I was too slow to spot that. Mind over matter saved my life here, by the way. Okay, and he lost his heart again. I definitely should be at quite a distance here. And then once I got some minions engaging everything, we can just murder them. You're at the most vulnerable when not all the enemies are properly engaged in the fight. But yeah, as a caster, this fight is much more difficult compared to how I found it as a meleeer. because it's just more difficult to see what the heck Kitava is doing. Because his attacks are pretty well telegraphed. But if you can't see him, then you can't see his attacks. Okay, now he's pissed. Okay, let's sidestep that one.
The flame of hope may flicker, but it cannot be extinguished.
So that was the Kitava fight. The first time you encounter him, or at least this time you encounter him, you only have to take him down to 50% of his life to trigger the final transformation and his Kamehameha attack that he used to destroy the Sign of Purity. At least that's what it looked like to me. So as the chat here indicated, this is the point where your resistance penalties will apply. So we now have lost 30% of all of our resistances, and Val skills now cost 50% more souls. So our resistances are now reduced by 30. I was overcapped quite a bit, so fire is now at 70, cold is at 75, and my lightning is only at 46, and my chaos -7 from a 23 positive that it was before. This is a permanent debuff for your character. If I were to go back to Act 1 now, I would still have the resistance penalties. Defeating Kitava inflicts this upon you and it's gonna stay. And defeating the Act 10 boss will inflict the same penalty again for a total of 60% total elemental and chaos resistance reduction. And it's gonna get you another 50% increases to your Val Soul skill cost. So that is something to keep in mind. If you're not feeling particularly strong for Kitava, it might be worth simply farming the Ruined Square or the Reliquary or the Ossuary or the Iris before, building up your gear a little bit to make sure at least your resists are capped, preferably overcapped a little bit, so that after defeating Kitava, you're not hindering yourself or hampering yourself too much, because Act 6, which is where we're going next, the elemental attacks are gonna be real. They're gonna be dangerous, and they're definitely not fooling around anymore. But for now, let's conclude with Sin and a little bit of lore while make our way to Act 6.
There is no shame in falling to a god. Shame lies only in refusing to rise again. You shall soar. That much I'm permitted to foresee. You shall ascend to the peak of your loftiest mistake, and from there you shall pluck a single surviving hope from the jaws of immortal despair. A ship sails for Lioneye's watch not far from here. Be on it.
It's not even a request, it's a command. Okay, there's a waypoint here, and there is a Lily who will take us there. One thing I think I skipped the first times is the after Kitava lore bits. Are there even some? Probably. Let's listen what everybody has to say.
You're still alive. So is Kitava. What more do you need to know? You'll find a way. I believe it.
Optimistic.
Remember, we do this for freedom.
Valenta.
Kitava is a primal deity, forged from the most fundamental of human desires, hunger. The simple act of craving that which we cannot yet consume. To defeat Kitava is to squeeze the very heart of human nature into stillness. You don't think you can do that? I suppose we'll see, won't we?
She's less cheerful.
I don't ask this in the name of Innocence. He understands now the folly his devotees have wrought upon this world. I ask in the name of Oriath. There are many that deserve what Kitava offers, and there are many more who do not. Put an end to Kitava's savage reign, for there remains much in this land that is worth saving. Innocence blesses your journey.
It's all rather simple and plain. Asking to get out. Hey, wait. There's a ladder to the cathedral rooftops here. I completely missed that one on the way in the beta. So, have a chat with Lily Roth.
I'm Captain Lily Roth, and we sail for Rayclast. Better to live in exile than die on this psychotic bonfire of an island. You want to make it out of here? You'd better get on board. But make it quick, 'cause I ain't got time for tears and regrets.
Sail to Rayclast.
Remember, this ain't no charity run. You owe me. Cast off!
To the point, all businesslike.
Alright, we're safe for the time being. Now let me introduce myself properly. Lily Roth. Yep, I'm one of those Roths. Some call me smuggler, others pirate. Yeah, I prefer the sound of nautical entrepreneur. I came up with that one myself. So you come see Lily if you need something, or even if you just fancy a good chat with a lovely lady. Don't think I'd be forgetting that favour you owes me. In fact, now I think of it, there's certainly a way you can be repaying this most considerable debt. You see, those blasted cultists have been plundering the refugee ships trying to escape Oriath, and if not for my incomparable skill as a sea captain, we'd have met the same fate. But now the drowned dead are washing ashore, and they ain't staying dead. There's been a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears getting these few lucky survivors here in one piece. What sort of captain would I be if I let them get ripped apart by walking corpses? Wipe the Twilight Strand clean of those filthy undead bastards and I'll call us even. Might even throw in a little something extra if you can pull it off.
Okay, she's got more lore, but I'm gonna save that for next episode. So, we cleared Act 5, the dark second part of Act 5. Ended up facing Kitava, but ultimately not quite making it through. We are definitely weakened from it. Our resistances have fallen. Our fire is no longer overcapped, it's not even maxed. And our lightning has definitely suffered. So some gear upgrades will be important to do, preferably before we start on the content, but probably while I'll play through the content. But just keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of elemental damage in Act 6. So if you're playing through on hardcore, this would be the point where you go back to Act 5 and you just farm some of the areas in order to improve your gear. You work on your masters, you make sure you get your resist maxed, preferably overcapping your resists a bit before you even set 1 foot outside of town here. Just things get dangerous. So next episode is going to be the lore of Lioneye's Watch in Act 6 episode. Probably going to be another 20 or so minutes. Episode after that is when we truly start on the content. So, as always, I'm going to thank you very much for watching. And I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.